Imagine the sound of relentless rain, uninterrupted, unyielding, pouring down across the planet for nearly 2 million years. Deserts dissolve into vast seas of mud. Continents flood under persistent deluge. Ancient forests transform into lush, waterlogged jungles. And amid this global upheaval, a once obscure group of small reptiles, the early dinosaurs, seized the moment to diversify, dominate, and rule the Earth for the next 160 million years. This is no exaggeration. This is documented geological history. It is known as the Carnian pluvial episode, a profound climatic shift that redefined life on our planet. Today, we explore the causes, the evidence, and the extraordinary consequences of this extended period of rain that reshaped the Triassic world. The Carnian pluvial episode represents a dramatic transition from the predominantly arid conditions of the late Triassic to a markedly humid, warmer global climate. Occurring between approximately 234 and 232 million years ago, this event was driven by intense volcanic activity that injected enormous quantities of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, triggering rapid warming and an amplified hydrological cycle. To appreciate the scale of change, consider the setting. During the late Triassic, roughly 237 to 227 million years ago, the supercontinent Pangaea dominated the planet. Its interior regions were hot and arid, characterized by extensive deserts and seasonal monsoons confined largely to coastal zones. The biosphere was still recovering from the catastrophic Permian-Triassic extinction event some 50 million years earlier. Reptilian lineages dominated terrestrial ecosystems. Early dinosaurs had already emerged in the Middle Triassic, around 240 million years ago. Small, agile, bipedal forms such as Eoraptor and Herrerasaurus, but they remained marginal, comprising only a small fraction of the fossil record. The dominant herbivores included large rhynchosaurs and decinodonts, adapted to drier environments, while crocodile-like archosaurs and early turtles occupied aquatic and semi-aquatic niches. Vegetation consisted primarily of drought-tolerant conifers and seed ferns. The trigger for transformation came from the Rangelia Large Igneous Province, a massive flood basalt eruption located off the western margin of what is now North America, in the Panthalasan Ocean. This prolonged volcanic episode released millions of cubic kilometers of lava and vast amounts of greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide, sulfur compounds, and halogens. The resulting atmospheric CO2 surge drove global temperatures upward by several degrees Celsius. Warmer oceans increased evaporation, atmospheric moisture content rose sharply, and precipitation patterns intensified worldwide. What began as episodic wet pulses evolved into a sustained humid interval lasting 1 to 2 million years. The rainfall was not uniform. Certain regions experienced extreme megamonsoons, while others saw persistent high humidity and fog. Globally, however, arid landscapes receded, and water-saturated environments expanded dramatically. The geological record provides compelling evidence for this shift. Across continents, sedimentary sequences document abrupt changes. In the Dolomites of northern Italy, red oxidized desert deposits give way to dark, organic-rich mudstones, preserving abundant plant remains. Comparable transitions appear in strata from the United Kingdom, Germany, China, Argentina, and Greenland. Carbon isotope profiles reveal multiple negative excursions in Delta 13C, signaling large-scale injections of isotopically light carbon from volcanic outgassing or associated methane release. Elevated mercury concentrations in sediments indicate widespread volcanic fallout. Palynological data show a proliferation of ferns, lycophytes, and other humidity-dependent plants, accompanied by a temporary decline in drought-resistant conifers. Sediment loads surged, with rivers transporting enormous volumes of clay and silt into lakes and marine basins, forming thick deltaic and lacustrine deposits. Coal beds reappear after a prolonged Triassic coal gap, reflecting the return of widespread swamp environments. Dinosaur footprints from formations such as Argentina's Los Rastros preserve impressions in waterlogged substrates. On land, the ecological response was profound. vegetation communities shifted toward moisture-tolerant species. Ferns and horsetails diversified rapidly, creating dense ground cover. Conifers adapted to wetter conditions, and early precursors to flowering plants may have gained ground. Swamps and peat-forming mires expanded, sequestering carbon on a large scale. Faunal communities underwent significant reorganization. Arid-adapted herbivores, such as rhynchosaurs, experienced sharp declines, with many lineages disappearing as their preferred vegetation diminished. Dicynodonts, already reduced from earlier extinctions, continued to dwindle, while some crocodile relatives and turtles persisted or even diversified. The decisive beneficiaries were the dinosaurs. Prior to the episode, they were scarce and ecologically peripheral. Afterward, their diversity and abundance surged. Basal lineages rapidly gave rise to the three major clades: sauropodomorphs, leading to long-necked giants; theropods, ancestors of tyrannosaurs and birds; and ornithischians, including armored and horned forms. Fossil evidence from bones and trackways worldwide demonstrates that, by the close of the Carnian, dinosaurs had assumed dominant positions in many terrestrial ecosystems. The newly productive, vegetated landscapes supported abundant herbivore resources and diverse prey for carnivores. The extinctions of incumbent groups created vacant ecological space, which dinosaurs rapidly occupied. In the marine realm, the consequences were more disruptive. Ocean warming promoted deoxygenation and the expansion of anoxic zones. Acidification impaired carbonate precipitation, leading to the dissolution of shallow water platforms. Several groups, including conodonts, numerous ammonoids, and certain crinoids, suffered substantial losses, potentially up to 1/3 of marine genera in what is sometimes described as a modest extinction event. Nevertheless, innovation followed. New planktonic groups, such as coccolithophores and dinoflagellates, proliferated, establishing the foundations for later reef ecosystems. Marine reptiles, including ichthyosaurs, capitalized on nutrient-enriched waters. The rise of dinosaurs can be attributed to the Carnian pluvial episode's role as a global ecological reset. The preceding arid regime had favored highly specialized forms. The humid, warmer world rewarded adaptable generalists capable of rapid reproduction, efficient locomotion, and flexible diets. Dinosaurs possessed these advantages: an upright posture for energy-efficient movement, possible metabolic enhancements suggesting elevated activity levels, and versatile feeding strategies. The enhanced productivity of terrestrial ecosystems supported larger populations, accelerated evolutionary rates, and greater morphological experimentation. Without this climatic perturbation, dinosaurs might have remained a minor component of Triassic faunas. Instead, they radiated extensively, laying the groundwork for their dominance throughout the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. Many modern lineages, turtles, crocodilians, mammals, and conifers, also trace key developments to this interval. The Carnian pluvial episode illustrates the profound influence of volcanic forcing on Earth's climate system. It underscores the interconnectedness of atmospheric composition, temperature, precipitation, and biological evolution. Large-scale perturbations can drive mass extinctions in some lineages while catalyzing adaptive radiations in others. In an era of anthropogenic climate change, with rising temperatures and intensified hydrological extremes, this ancient episode offers a sobering perspective on the potential consequences of rapid environmental shifts. The rain that fell for 2 million years did more than reshape landscapes. It fundamentally altered the trajectory of life on Earth.